Welcome back to Fight Money. Let's get straight into the next one. A heavyweight bout on the Cater Holloway undercard. Carlos Felipe versus Justin Tafa. But before we get into it, make sure you subscribe, like, follow us on Instagram at fight_money with 2 Ys. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Right away, Carlos Felipe, I believe, is coming away victorious. But boy, that power from Justin Tafa is amazing. I mean, I'm not sleeping on this guy for one bit. It's a very close fight. But for me, looking for people who only has that success with, you know, one shot power, you need a lot more. I mean, look at the KO against Juan Adams. Yeah, he had his hands in a place where anybody could have hit him. Anybody could have hit him. Yeah, he sort of leaned back and he turned his head away. So I don't know what to take from that. However, what I can take is that Justin Tafa hits extremely hard. But I do feel, don't get me wrong, Carlos Felipe is not the best fighter in the world, but I do feel that to beat someone like Carlos Felipe, you can't just look to swing in big shots. You need a lot more. And if you do swing in big shots, you need to be very consistent with the amount of punches you're throwing. And I don't think Justin Tafa throws enough. And I'm going to talk about something that's not really mentioned too much in MMA or the UFC. And that's non-striking, non-offensive activity. Now, what do I mean by non-offensive activity? I'm talking about having a high guard, being tight, feinting, moving your head, moving in and out of your feet, lateral movement, but everything combined in one whilst having a tight defensive guard. Now, Carlos Felipe has more of this over Justin Tafa, and how this helps in fighting is, if you looked at Carlos Felipe's last fight against Jorgen De Castro, you can see he had a tight boxing guard. He was feinting, he's moving in and out of his feet, he's moving his head, and he's parrying a lot of the shots. Now, this helps him set up a lot of strikes to then be successful and to grow confidence within the fight. Looking at someone like Justin Tafa, he doesn't really do much of that. But then before he throws big shots, he then becomes a bit more active with his non-punching activity. Like you saw with the Juan Adams fight, he was touching that lead hand because he's a southpaw, Justin Tafa, and Juan Adams is orthodox. What happened in that fight, I mean, you guys should know, but the lead hands become opposites. So the right hand was in parallel with Juan Adams' lead left hand. So what Justin Tafa done, he started pouring that left hand, and then he just swung a big right hook over the top when he saw that the space was there. However, outside of these things, Justin Tafa doesn't do enough. In terms of his non-punching activity, he's there to be hit. For someone who's going to be constantly moving, feinting, having a high guard, a nice tight defensive shell, Justin Tafa will be unsuccessful with the way he fights, especially with someone who has a little bit more output in Carlos Felipe. And simply, that's where I see Carlos Felipe winning this fight. I see Justin Tafa being a little bit short on a lot of the big shots that he throws, because I don't see him landing technical strikes to set up any big shots. I do see him looking just to swing in big power punches to get Carlos Felipe out of there. And I don't think it's going to be enough to beat Carlos Felipe. I think you need to be a little bit clean. Even though Carlos Felipe isn't the best fighter in the world, don't get me wrong. And Justin Tafa, obviously it's a fight heavyweight. He may clip Felipe with something and knock him out, but that's the only way I see Justin Tafa winning this fight. And you know, here on Fight Money, we don't really like those people who just rely on one punch knockout. So with all that being said, Carlos Felipe should come away here with a decision victory. If not, I do feel maybe get a stoppage in the second round. But I think by the time it gets to the third round, I reckon they'll both be a bit laboured and it will just cruise to a decision victory for Carlos Felipe. That's my prediction for the fight. Thank you for joining me. We'll be back with another one.